As you look out your window this morning, you might be seeing this, and it's probably a little bit confusing. But if you look a little closer, you might also be seeing this, or this, or even this. All right, so I might be over exaggerating just a little bit. It's a slight hyperbole there. But there is a lot of snow out there, and it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get it cleaned up. So it's probably a good thing that we're having a digital day. I know what you're thinking. Boring. And you'd probably rather be doing this. I know that's what Riley would rather be doing. In fact, I woke him up to take this picture, but he is pretty cute. You'd be happy to know, though, that today we're going to kill two birds with one stone. I'll give it a little time to sink in. See if you can recognize. Bingo! Figurative language. We aren't really killing two birds with one stone, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk about two concepts in one video. Today, we will be talking about visualization and word choice. The two concepts go hand in hand. When writers use good word choice, then readers can visualize. So let's go over our learning intentions for the two concepts. When we visualize, and this is the concept that Miss Gass is going to be talking to you about once we do get back to school, so you're going to get a little head start today. When we visualize, we can use details from the text to create an image in our mind about what is happening in the book or story that we're reading. We will use visualization to help enhance our understanding or our comprehension of a text, and we will communicate our visualizations with others. Now, today we can't communicate our visualizations, but later on in the week, we will be doing that through an activity. What I would like you to do today, after we talk about visualization, after we look at an example, is to read. We all have AR goals to meet. We have some that are close to meeting them, and we have some that are very far away. So today I would like you to take some extra time to read, and while you're reading, look for a portion in the text where the author has used good word choice so that you can visualize. Now, word choice is this. I can explain the importance of using good word choice, which we know that good word choice will help us visualize. We can use adjectives and adverbs as a tool for good word choice, also using good, strong verbs to help our readers visualize. And then we can use our senses to help spice up our writing. When we use our senses and we use words that appeal to our senses, then our reader can picture what's happening in their mind and feel the text. And then finally, adding figurative language can help make our writing more interesting. And you'll see some of these examples in a text while you read and while you picture in your mind what's happening in that story. So let's start with reviewing word choice. When authors use good word choice, they are showing you what's happening instead of just telling you what's happening. So then you can get that visual in your mind and see what's happening in the text. What things you need to look for when an author uses good word choice is, first of all, strong verbs. We talked a little bit about this, not yesterday, last Thursday and Friday, depending on what group you're in. For example, if I hear an author or if I read an author use the word grab or take, it's not very exciting. But if I use an author or see an author use a word like snatched or confiscate, it helps get a better visual in my mind. The example that I used in class the other day was the word walk. It's very boring. It's very basic. But when an author uses the word trudged or moseyed or sauntered, it helps give a better visual in your mind. So when authors use good verb choice, then they're helping you to feel or see the action that's taking place in the text. Also, authors use words that appeal to the five senses. So think about adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. When authors use lots of adjectives in their text, they can help you see, feel, hear, taste, or smell what's happening in the text. I had to think about which one I missed there. So anytime that an author uses adjectives, then they're appealing to the five senses. Also, let's think about wow words. This is where that thesaurus is going to come in handy. We don't want to use dead words. We've talked about words like sad or mad that are just a little bit boring. So when you as a writer use a thesaurus, or when authors use wow words, it helps the reader visualize what's happening in the text. And this kind of goes along with using and trying new words in your writing. Use that thesaurus to help you think of words that maybe show a little bit more than tell. So good writers are actually a lot like chefs, and you can think of this when you're being a writer, and authors probably think a lot about this when they're writing as well. When we're writing, we want to add just the right amount of salt or just the right amount of spice to our writing. So, SALT is an acronym for the things that you need to help your readers create an image in their mind or visualize what's happening in the text. The S on SALT stands for similes, but I'm going to take this a step further, and it's actually going to stand not just for similes, but for any type of figurative language. Similes, metaphors, personification, hyperboles, onomatopoeia, idioms, any type of figurative language you can think of will be classified under the S in SALT. The A in SALT stands for adjectives and adverbs. The more descriptive you can be with your nouns, and the more you can tell about the verbs that you're using in your writing, which is what adjectives do, the better that your reader will be able to visualize what's happening in the text. Now, I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm also going to add verb choice. Remember, you want to use verbs that show and not just tell what's happening in the text. So, like the examples I just talked to you about. Instead of saying walked, you say moseyed, sauntered. Instead of saying ran, you'd maybe say bolted or dashed. Use verbs that show action. The L in SALT stands for lots and lots of details. The more details that you can add to your text, the better your reader will be able to visualize. Good writers add lots of details, and you'll see that in the example that I'm about to show you. This is where you want to appeal to the five senses. Make your reader see, feel, hear, smell, and taste what's happening in the text. You know, I have trouble always thinking of that last one. And finally, transition words. You want to connect your ideas together in a seamless way so that it makes your reader feel like they're reading something that's not so choppy and a little bit more seamless. Transitions don't just go with word choice, they go with all kinds of different writing traits. For example, organization is one of them, and sentence fluency. So we see transition a lot. Now, I hope you've already begun to see the connection between word choice and visualization. When you are visualizing, you are seeing what you're reading. You are feeling what you're reading, and you're able to make a picture of your mind of what's happening in the text. When we were looking at figurative language last week, and we watched the video of all the different types of figurative language, and I told you we were only going to talk about 7 of those types, but there were really actually like 12 or 13 of them. Some of you pointed out imagery. Imagery, and when an author uses imagery in the text, they're actually using visualization. They are helping you create a picture in your mind by showing what's happening instead of telling. When an author uses good word choice, then you're able to get the image in your mind. You're able to see and feel what's happening in the text. So, When you're reading, you can use visualization as a comprehension skill. Because when you're able to picture in your mind and pick out those details that the author is using, then you're better able to comprehend and understand what you're reading. When you're writing, your job is to be on the other side of that. Your job is to pick and choose the words that you are using in your text to help your reader visualize. Because when readers are able to visualize, not only are they able to better understand what they're reading, but they're also more excited about what they're reading. They enjoy what they're reading. The book is more entertaining. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at an excerpt from a text, just a little portion where the author has used good word choice to help the reader visualize what's happening in the text. So the excerpt that was chosen is from a book called Canyon by Gary Paulsen. It's a third-person narrative. You'll notice as I read that it's told by the narrator about a boy named Brennan. And so in the excerpt, you'll see, I'm going to highlight, some places where Gary Paulsen used really good word choice so that we're better able to visualize. So I'll read through it first, and then I'll go through and I'll highlight the different examples that I'd like you to focus on. He felt strange. The chocolate grew cold in his hand, and he sat and let the canyon come in around him. There was no moon, but enough light came from the stars so that even when his eyes grew used to the darkness, he could see the canyon walls moving up into the sky. Somewhere, far away, something screamed, a faint cry, almost like a woman or child screaming. And he started. Then remembered reading somewhere that mountain lions screamed that way and thought it must be a cougar somewhere way off. There were mountains and more mountains up over ridges, and there must be mountain lions up there in the peaks. I have lived so close to this, he thought, and never been here. Never seen this beautiful place. He had been in the mountains close to El Paso, but they were dry, dead, hot and baked, airless peaks, not like this. Not with cool breezes and springs and cottonwoods and birds and lions, if it was a lion. He wondered for a moment if he should be frightened of the lion, then decided against it. From what he read, they didn't bother people at all, and it must have been miles away. The sleepers below him hadn't even heard it. He put the cup down and lay back, but still, sleep wouldn't come. Something was there, some strange thing that bothered him. He had felt it before, when they first came into the end of the canyon, and it was still there, the feeling. He couldn't shake it. An unease, a restlessness that wouldn't go away. He closed his eyes and thought of things to make him sleep, boring things, but even that didn't work. In the end, he sat up again, staring out across the canyons, over the sleepers below him, a strange uneasiness in his heart that would not go away. And the night came down. Now begin to tell your muscles to move and open up your eyes. So the first thing that I would like to highlight is the word choice here. The chocolate grew cold in his hand as he sat and let the canyon come in around him. I can visualize two things at this moment in the text. Number one, they said that the chocolate grew cold. I couldn't quite find the image that I wanted to show what was happening here in the text, but I envisioned like having a hot sandwich, for example, and the longer you wait, the colder it gets. So the visualization that I got was ice cubes in the hand to just show that something is you're waiting, you're sitting there, and the longer you wait, the colder it gets. The other thing is it said that the canyon came in around him. So the canyon's not really coming in, but what I do visualize here is the walls and walls closing in around him. So even though the canyon's not getting tighter, it's almost like it's suffocating him. So that was the one thing that I visualized from this portion of the text. The next thing I want to focus in on is it says Somewhere far away, something screamed a faint cry, almost like a woman or child screaming. And then he goes on to describe that it must be a mountain lion. But as I am reading this portion of the text, I am hearing the cry of the mountain lion in the distance. Remember, he is in the canyon, he's in the desert, and he can hear those things around him. And especially since it's so quiet, it seems very loud. Then I wanted to highlight here that it's up on the ridges. And so, oh, by the way, I missed this one here. As he's hearing the sound, I'm seeing his eyes get wide as he's almost, it's not like he's terrified, but he's just kind of amazed or shocked by what's going on around him. He doesn't know whether to feel scared or whether to see the beauty in it. So I forgot to add that one, that he's feeling a little bit, he doesn't know what to feel. Now the next one I wanted to highlight, like I said, was the mountain lions up high on the peaks. You can just kind of see their silhouette as he's looking up in the distance. The mountains far off, but beyond him, I should say. And then he talks about the sky and how there is no light from the moon and that all he can see is the stars. And so as he's looking up into the night sky, I envision this. You can see the canyons coming up. We know that when we're out in the wilderness away from city lights, we can see many more stars. So I envision all these stars around him as he's looking up into the night sky. Now, one visualization that I almost forgot is where he talks about what this area is like in the daytime. Not with cool breezes, spring cottonwoods, lions. He talked about how it's dry, dead, hot, and baked, airless peaks. So those are the adjectives that he's using to describe this place. And so what I picture is not this beautiful sunset with all of these beautiful colors, but I envision this almost desert, desolate-like landscape with lots of cracks and dry landscape out in front of him. And it's not a very picturesque or beautiful thing at all. Not like what's beyond this picture right now, or even the night sky and all those beautiful colors. So that was another place where we were able to visualize. And then in the end here, an unease, a restlessness that wouldn't go away. He closed his eyes and thought of things that would help him sleep. So I'm feeling what he's feeling. I'm able to visualize this person laying there in their sleeping bag, eyes wide open, trying to maybe squint to just get themselves to fall asleep, but it's not happening. So the author has used lots of good word choice in this excerpt to help me visualize many different things in this text. All right, now that we've made the connection between word choice and visualization, it's assignment time. Now, the video today was a little bit longer because it was 2 lessons rolled into one. But what I would like you to do for your assignment, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is to do some reading. And I want you to look carefully in any book that you read today to try and find a place where the author has used good word choice so that you are better able to visualize. Did they use a good verb? Were they using adjectives and adverbs to help give you a visual in your mind? Did they use some figurative language? Try to look for those things in your text. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write your example on the back of your Grace's Canoe worksheet. So read today, read lots, find an example of a place where you were able to visualize and write it down. We will see you tomorrow.